welcome to Unity Spiritual Center of Panama City. And a shout out to our online community. So glad you're watching with us today. Today, we are in chapter 3 of a new series based on this book, Birthing a Greater Reality by Unity minister and author Robert Brummett. We've had some fabulous discussion in Wednesday Explorations. So last week, we explored the evolutionary trail markers. It's the trail that mankind has left as they journeyed onward in relation to the ongoing understanding of the true self. It is the trail of history, littered. We know litter, right? We litter our environment with clues of our journey, just as Hansel and Gretel left a trail of crumbs. And so humanity as a whole has left a trail of biological evolution, conscious evolution, emotional evolution, and spiritual evolution. As I said last week, the Bible and other sacred texts from all religions are symbolically telling us the story of humankind's journey from subconscious to conscious to superconscious. But what is important to realize is that evolution is not just about the past. Evolution is about our future. We are evolving into a future that we may not know. Other generations prior to us have also done this. And we're here, so that's a good thing. My prayer for each of you is to consider the evolution in your own life. Consider your evolution into your personal future. Specifically, being your reverend, your spiritual growth practices and process that I'm affirming are being practiced every day. No need to show of hands. And also for the collective spiritual growth of this amazing community, as well as the global spiritual awakening that is happening. It's a dance of consciousness. As we co-create a world that works for all, each and every individual must insist upon their own individual and collective evolution. Our conscious evolution now requires, did I say the word require? A lot of people don't like that word. But our conscious evolution requires us to evolve beyond what we know in this time. It requires us to evolve beyond ego identification. And in order for us to evolve beyond this level, it helps to see how did we become involved with our ego identification. Are you ready? Are you holding on to your chair? You might want to, because you know I'm a button pusher. I pride myself. Thank you. I have permission to button push. All right, I'm on it now. Our collective mistaken identity is rooted in the erroneous answer to this question: who am I? Yes. So as we awaken and we evolve beyond the consciousness of, are you ready for it? As we evolve beyond the consciousness of children of God, oh yeah, it's a big button push this time. We must evolve beyond being a child of God into being a co-creator and partner with the divine. Amen. It was a little slow, but you were getting there. So, my challenge for you and for me, because I'm equally as guilty, is to never again describe yourself as a child of God. Michael, now. Amen. Thank you. Never again describe yourself as a child of God, and here's why. You are more. You are more than what is represented by the word child. There are no children in this room. They're in the room number 4. We call it the nursery. When we use the word child, it's a word, mind you, it has a definition that we've all agreed on. We get an image of a helpless, defenseless little being needing the care and concern and attention of someone else. You do not need the care, concern, and attention of anybody else but your own indwelling divine presence. Finally. We do not need the care and concern of some older, wiser, greater being than who we are, because we're it. Unity principle number 2, it's you. I am surrounded by gods. Can you step into the idea? 1 Corinthians chapter 13:11 says, "When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became man, I put the ways of childhood behind me." Meaning evolved forward. Remember, the Bible and all the sacred texts are the story of our evolution. Jesus taught love and oneness with God, and in order to do so, he put childlike ways behind him. And he calls us to evolve into that for ourselves. So as you awaken to the essential and eternal spiritual truth within you, you must move away from being and expressing as a spiritual child. It's not a judgment. It's an idea. You and you alone must identify in what ways are you holding your spiritual maturity hostage. It is not for me to judge. I have my own spiritual maturity to be concerned about. I'm here to help you, but I'm not here to do it for you. It is a shift from being guided to being a partner with the guide. So our false self that we created as little children was created for survival. And we must grow and evolve beyond that now, if we are to survive as a collective species. It's pretty big, folks. if you follow the trajectory of where we're headed, it doesn't look so good. And so what do you do when you know that you're on a path that is going to lead you to doom and destruction? Oh, you do as Jesus said and look on the other side of the boat, and you change your idea and your trajectory and you try something new. Because you know where that path is going to lead you. You take the other fork in the road and you change and you evolve and you do something, anything different. You are a co-creator, not only within your own evolution, but within the evolution of mankind. It's not just about yourself, it's about everybody. Just as powerful as co-creating is mankind's ability to co-destruct. We've witnessed it in our lifetimes many times. The United States of America is good at it. But we don't talk about that because it's not the pretty little flowery yellow butterfly idea that we want to hold in our consciousness. But we must take the yin and the yang and not only co-create, but know that we are able to co-destroy. And we need to choose for ourselves, for our family, for our community, for our planet. So either consciously or unconsciously, either on purpose, we have chosen a blind eye to our personal and collective evolution, or we have ignored our internal guidance. How many of you have ignored your internal guidance? Come on now. Yeah. How did that turn out for you? It was sort of painful around the edges, I bet. We must learn to listen to our guidance. And so I ask you in this now moment, in this time in your life, what are you co-creating for yourself? What are you co-creating for your family? What are you co-creating for this community? What are you co-creating for the state of Florida? Need I go on? Ask yourself, is what I am co-creating life-affirming or life-destroying? I can't choose for you. You get to choose for you. Even as we hold one another and our loved ones in prayer, are your thoughts affirmative? Are your thoughts life-affirming? Or are your worrisome thoughts life-destroying? It makes a difference what you're thinking. Barbara Max Hubbard says in her book, Emergence, The Shift from Ego to Essence, that the great teachers, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Muhammad, and others, became examples of those who broke through self-conscious, self-centered thinking. They offered their teachings to others as a path to follow, so that we can break free and do the same. We say we follow the teachings of these great masters, but you get to ask yourself, am I really following? In every tradition, the golden rule is included. Learning to know yourself is included. You are more than this separate physical being that I can see and touch. And the process of emergence involves fundamental, definitive shifts in identity, in consciousness, in words, in actions, and behavior. Sorry, I don't know any other way to say it. Yes, it does hurt sometimes. Thank you, Michael. But by necessity, our individual and collective journey must begin. So when we consider the ego, knowing that ego is a Latin word for I, what is the source of that I? Robert Brummett says, who I really am, who you really are, is forever a mystery to the mind. But the mind does not like mysteries. The mind likes certainty and facts. It is intolerable to not know the future. How many of you have got a crystal ball? Is it working? Mine has gone a little cloudy. To face the unknown is virtually intolerable for the human mind. You all have been there. Each of us must experience what I call living in the question and being comfortable with not knowing what's next, even if it's for 5 minutes, 5 years, or 50 years. It doesn't matter. We need to embrace the fact that God is present in the question. We'll be fine. Yes. Allow the process to unfold. When we are uncomfortable, we immediately turn to strategizing. Oh, I can fix this. Oftentimes, we go into that intellectual process without all the facts. And then we get ourselves into a little more trouble than we were anticipating. Just trust. Oftentimes, we make up a story. Oh, this is going to work out just this way. It'll be fabulous. All as a ploy to soothe our inability to be in discomfort. We can't handle it. Even those of us who say we like change, we can't handle it. Come on now. I'm on to you. And you're on to me. So whatever is happening, allow Spirit to be what you hold on to. It's inside you. You can't lose it. It's not going anywhere. And in my experience, Spirit always gives you just what you need to know in just the nick of time, with no time to spare. But the answer is always provided. And so it comes back to trust. All things will be revealed in the fullness of time. And so our evolution cannot be predicted with 100% certainty. There are probabilities, there's the adjacent possible, but that's it. There's no certainty. Trust in the divine. Trust in the universal life force that is the energy. And trust in your essence, your God within you, your life force within you. It's all we've got. The rest is made up. And so it is our ancient wisdom that tells us who we really are. Our true nature exists in a realm beyond time and space, and that awareness was lost with our choosing to have a birth experience. When spirit incarnates in human form, we forget all of our truth. With our birth onto the human plane, we forgot our essence, and our identification becomes embodied first in the physical body, and we must learn to trust, and we learn about autonomy. And then we become engaged in the mind, and we find things of interest, distractions to amuse us. We take initiative, giving us outer direction. We find something to keep us busy. We call it industry. And so we gradually lose our awareness and identity as a spirit or a soul. It becomes completely lost in our upbringing. And as we continue to journey in the outer, the existence, we move through multiple phases of identity, intimacy, generatively, and ego integrity. Our mind can only function in the domain of time. It cannot go beyond it. It's like a big black hole. You know, you watch those space movies. Oh no, the black hole, go far, far away. The ego mind is fearful of this black hole. The mind is unable to know its true origin, which is God. So our personal identity or ego self is only a product of our mind. We made it up. The whole time you've been on the planet, you've been adding to your personal story. It's a good story, isn't it? And you're sticking to it, right? I was afraid of that. Because your ego will do everything possible to keep the story alive. And the cause of human suffering lies in this mistaken belief in the ego that our separate personal self is our one and true self. Friends, come on now. You're smarter than that. Listen to the intuitive self that says who you truly are. Oh, funny story. Just popped into my head. Rob and I were driving past a Baptist church one time, and I'm like, I'm going to go in there and say I'm God manifest. And he's just like, yeah, they're going to tar and feather you. Remember that? Oh, God. Yes, indeed. Oh, God. So your ego will tell you that I'm lying in order to maintain the creative story that you've written all these years. Awakening is a birth into a new reality. Just like human birth, those little infants needed someone to guide them along the way. They needed to develop skills in order to survive, to know what is right and wrong, and to trust their intuitive wisdom. On our spiritual evolution, we are acquiring those skills now to trust that our true self is our spiritual essence. That is the evolution that is scaring so many people. Not all of you. Those who have awakened to the reality of unending oneness, of transcendence often report a time of disorientation. But eventually they learn to integrate this information with who they are and how they function here. Have you ever had such a deep meditation that when you awaken yourself to be in the outer now moment, you're like, whoa, I don't even think I can stand up. I'm just going to sit here for a minute. That level of deep transcendence in our spiritual practices needs to be ascended and included in our spiritual and physical experience. Integrating this new awareness into our everyday life is our task. Jesus said, "This and other things shall you do." Well, this is what he did. It goes back to, are you following? Only you know. So the conscious evolution is not just about transcending our existing level, but it is about integrating it. All of our prior knowledge and understanding must become a part of this new reality. This new reality must become a part of all that we already know. That is our journey. And so I invite you to smile along the way and join me for Wednesday explorations to discuss this and other juicy tidbits of the spiritual evolutionary path. Enjoy the journey and abundant blessings. Namaste.